My next guest has built up quite a resume and is one of the area's emerging African-American leaders. As the former CFO for Wayne County, he helped keep the county out of bankruptcy. He served as emergency manager for Benton Harbor and provided turnaround and crisis management services for Detroit Public Schools and the Skillman Foundation. Now he's giving back by awarding scholarships and internships to students at his alma mater, Cass Technical High School. I'd like to welcome Tony Saunders, Managing Director of Volte Advisors, to American Black Journal. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's first talk about the scholarships that you are sponsoring at Cass Tech. Really huge move to try to not just make sure people go to college. Here you're aiming at the idea of developing people as civic leaders.
Yeah, so this is something we've actually always wanted to do. I had two friends in high school, Brandon and Dennis, and we called ourselves the Three Amigos. And we always said we would do this. And so kind of this is the first step,
yeah.
kind of looking back at the high school that really created a lot of kind of who I am today.
Yeah, yeah. The idea of civic leadership and the idea that it starts when you're in high school, where did you get that from?
Yeah, so talent, right? Being in government, I've seen that as the biggest void that we've had. And the ability to develop that talent early and often, I think, is important. And so the goal of this is to get people at least to start thinking about a career in public service, whether it's in government or some not-for-profit or even in business, but having a lens towards a greater good.
Yeah, yeah. When you were that age, was civic leadership one of the things you were thinking about?
No, I was selling candy.
That's important too.
Yeah, but my father was a police officer.
Yeah.
And so I've seen him give service to the city, and it's something that I think was just kind of in the spirit of the family. But it wasn't something that I was intentionally thinking about. And I think with the public discussion that we're having on a national scale, it's important that we don't create an environment where people are, kind of incentivized not to get involved in their communities. So this is hopefully a small step in that direction.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things I really like about this is the sort of wraparound nature of it, right? You're not just handing money to these kids to say, all right, go off and get a college education. You're also going to sort of stay with them, right, through these internships and other kinds of things.
Yeah, I've been so lucky. I've realized the biggest lesson or experience that you can give is just exposure.
Yeah.
And I've kind of just been plopped in these places, and I've been so thankful for the people who have been behind me. So hopefully we can, create an environment where kids are exposed to the various industries that we have to offer in the city.
Yeah, yeah. You're also part of the group that recently bought the St. Regis Hotel. One of the really important spaces in Midtown Detroit. It's a place where I had like my senior luncheon in high school back in the late 1980s. Talk about the importance of that space and making that space sort of grand again.
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough to acquire the space from the Swanson family and a few other families who've done a good job in keeping that hotel, to the standard in which it is today. But that area is so important to our city. Yeah. So you see downtown and midtown that it's thriving and property values are higher than they've ever been. That area is just naturally next. And so we hope to serve as an anchor for that area. We'll be starting renovations very, very soon. And we hope to kind of bring the grandeur that it once had. We hope to bring it back. Yeah.
Your career has been about, I feel like, making things work again, making things grand again. Wayne County, the financial problems that they had when you went there, Benton Harbor. Talk about where we are with that process as a state. Are we doing better to prevent those things from happening in the first place? Or are we still in the idea of triage once the disaster strikes?
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah.
And I think the governor has done a really good job of reacting to the situation that was kind of put before him. The mayor's doing the best job that he can at reacting to the environment around him. However, we need to have a broader kind of public policy discussion in our state. Schools still need a lot of improvement. Public safety is definitely not where it needs to be. Those things are all driven in part by an inequity in funding that we have in our state. And so we need to kind of really look ourselves in the mirror and ask ourselves, what type of state, what type of place do we want to be? But we're clearly not there yet.
Yeah, and you're one of the few African-American voices at that table, right? One of the few African-Americans who's really been on the front lines of that conversation. And that's important. I mean, it's important that the people who are most affected by these things, especially in places like Detroit or Benton Harbor, Flint, that were represented in the decision making as well.
Yeah, you know, Warren Evans actually helped me understand that, right? So he's our highest ranking African American official in our state. And I've never seen anybody that take that responsibility to heart the way he does. And so kind of learning from him, working for him, helped me understand the responsibility that I had in that very moment. So, you know, I do think it's important. And part of the scholarship is to make sure that we have a pipeline of the next generation that can keep that tradition going.
Yeah, yeah. When you look at Cass Tech today, Cass Tech when you were there, do you feel like we're doing enough there even to produce that next generation of black leaders?
I think Principal Phillips at Cass, I mean, she's doing an amazing job. And I just took a tour of the school a couple weeks ago, and I was amazed. You know, one, how big it was, how beautiful it was, but the diversity of talent and people that we have. I think Cass Tech is one of the brightest and most shining moments and opportunities that we have in the city. So I think they're doing a great job, but I still think we can do better, even at Cass and across the state.
Yeah, yeah. And part of the idea of this scholarship, I know from talking to you, is set the example, right?
Yeah.
There's lots of people in this community who have the ability to help the folks who are coming up now get opportunities that we had when we were kids. I always say if each of us did just a little bit, this would be a really different place.
Yeah, I hope. And part of it is a natural obligation that we have, just as citizens, right? Just as human beings. Clearly, you know, $25,000 isn't going to change the world, but it might help somebody to change the world.
Right.
And so, you know, I think we have that obligation, and hopefully this sets an example for others to get in the game.
Yeah, yeah. The scholarships will take place, they'll kick in next year, and they'll go from there. Right?
Yeah, so this fall, we'll be selecting winners any day now.
Yeah.
And this fall, there'll be money in an account, and somebody will realize what it feels like to be a college freshman.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. All right, well, congratulations on the program, and thanks very much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.